Hello anatomy students, this is the preview video for muscle group 3 middle depth back and shoulder. This corresponds to pages 28 and 29 in our lab manual. And so this is the first time that you're going to need to actually cut into the muscle because again we're looking at the middle depth, which means that we need to open up the superficial muscles in order to see what lies below. And then there's even more muscles below those as well. But again, we're just going to stop at the middle depth here. So anyway, here's the head of my mink where I'm pointing with my probe, and the tail of the mink would be more towards the other end where I'm pointing with the handle of my probe here. And so speaking of probes, instead of using the pointy edge in order to start this cut, instead I'm going to use the blunt edge of the handle because you are less likely to poke a hole into any of the muscles. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut through clavotrapezius here. So I'm going to cut like right at about the top of cervicalis, which we saw in muscle group 2, and like right above that, and I only want to cut through my my clavotrapezius here. And so this is a time when you are going to be able to use the scalpel. But let me show you what I like to do with it. This method is going to prevent you from cutting too deep into the tissue of the mink. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lift up the clavotrapezius away from cervicalis, and then once I do that, I'm just going to kind of wiggle the probe through, kind of lifting up as I go, because again, I don't want to hurt any of the tissue underneath. There we go. So now like the edge of the handle is all the way up here. And I'm going to keep my probe in there, and I'll use my scalpel to cut right on top of that muscle. And this way, I'm only cutting the probe handle, and I'm not going deeper than that. There we go. So let's see how this turned out. All right, so as you can see, I still have a little bit more to cut because I still have a lot of tissue there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut through that some more. Put a little bit more pressure. There we go. And now I am able to open that up. Okay. There we go. Now, another thing that we can do to try and open this up even more is move the handle of the probe towards the spine, and then we can make another cut there so that we're kind of opening up our clavotrapezius like a book. And then again, just like I did before, and again, being very, very careful because some of these middle layer muscles adhere to the inside of clavotrapezius very well. So like here I could see like I was about to tear through this muscle tissue here. And so I'm just going to be very gentle, very careful. Again, notice that I'm not using the scalpel for this part because otherwise that muscle would have been gone. There we go. And then here's some more of that connective tissue that we had in the hole of fat. And so to get through that, because it's kind of hindering my ability to raise up this muscle. Here we go. And I think I want this to be a little bit more open, so I'm just going to use my little pointy scissors, my favorite tool in our toolbox, to kind of raise that up. And then I think that the other thing I want to do to open this up more is start by the fat hole here, and then I'm going to make a cut towards the spine this way, again, just so that I can open up this muscle a little bit better. So again, just keep your tip up. I'm going to cut along the acromiotrapezius there. There we go. There. And now we'll be able to see some of these muscles a little bit better. Okay, so that's one part of this dissection. Now the other part of this dissection is a little bit more tricky, because this is where I want to pull down or reflect the bottom part of clavotrapezius, and my goal here is to find the very last muscle in the list for muscle group 3, which is cleidomastoid. And you'll see that I have a note on that muscle list that says that it's deep to the clavotrapezius muscle. So cleidomastoid is what I'm looking for here. And again, it adheres very tightly to the inside of clavotrapezius, so don't go like gangbusters just trying to pull this down. We need to go slowly and methodically. So let's scrape off some of this connective tissue. It looks like I've got a nice sized nerve here, so let me just snip through that. And I have some more connective tissue over here, so snip through that. And so again, just working very slowly. And just in doing a little bit of this scraping, I can already see by reflecting or pulling back my clavotrapezius, I can already see cleidomastoid. And let me just try and zoom in here so that you can see that a little bit better. So as I pull this down, there's muscle tissue right here. See how tightly it's adhered to the inside? So that's why I didn't want to just like rip it down like gangbusters. So instead, what I'm going to do is use my pointy scissors to just kind of get under that fascia, like so. There. And there we are. There is the elusive cleidomastoid muscle. Let me just come over here, snip this a little bit more. Like that. There we go. All right. Beautiful. That looks great. Okay. So that is the dissection that you need to do. Now we can move forward and start identifying some of these other muscles. So our first muscle is atlantoscapularis. And atlantoscapularis is a very thin band of muscle that's going to start over here just above omocervicalis, and it's going to start over here, and then it kind of curves upward, and it's going to insert on the scapula. So let me zoom out a little bit for you. There we go. And let me do some cleaning so that we can see this a little bit better. So I have some connective tissue here that I'm going to try to get rid of, like so. And again, you have to be really careful because these muscles are really quite thin and very easy to tear. So we don't want to do that. All right. And so here I can see, just looking under my probe, that I have some connective tissue here that I can take away in order for us to see the margins of the muscles a little bit more clearly. There we go. Wonderful. Okay. So this muscle right here that I've just exposed for you is atlantoscapularis. And you'll notice that there's a kind of a space between this muscle here and atlantoscapularis. We're not doing anything with this muscle, so don't worry about naming it. Don't cut into it, but there is going to be a large space because atlantoscapularis is going to form this V shape with the third muscle down. This muscle is rhomboideus capitis. And then up towards the cervical spine, up towards the spine that's near the neck. So I'm going to lay my mink on his ventral side here. There's a muscle right here. Let's see if I can't define that for you a little bit better. This one is proving to be a little bit tricky. There we go. So on the mare, this is a pretty short muscle. It might be a little bit larger on some of your specimens. Also, just remember when you're using the scissors, tips up. Otherwise, you're going to cut a little bit too deep. But there we go. So here's the muscle that is rhomboideus cervicus. So our first three muscles are atlantoscapularis, which is right above the omocervicalis. Here we have the rhomboideus capitis. And then here we have rhomboideus cervicus. We found omocervicalis here already. And then our cleidomastoid is right here. Okay, so once again, now I'm gonna name them from spine all the way down towards the lateral side of the mink. It doesn't follow the list, in order. So just so that you understand. So the muscle that is all the way towards the spine, this is called rhomboideus cervicus. Our next one, rhomboideus capitis. The next one down, atlantoscapularis, omocervicalis, cleidomastoid. Ah, that's a beautiful dissection, if I do say so myself. All right, I hope that this helped prepare you for class. See you soon.